Good evening. On this lovely evening, we are here on Ballygrinnan Hill by the kind permission of Morris Hayes, whose land we are on. We are having an overview on the town of Listowel. Now, the origins of Listowel town probably goes back to the fort of Tuathal, which was up here just behind my back. It's on the cluster of trees. It's on the right hand side of Gortinard. How much we know about that, in the sense that ring forts were very scarce. That was a very big one. The other thing though, that when you look back along the river here on the southern side of the bank, there were a whole lot of very extensive ring forts. Listowel town as such is built on the northeastern bank of the river File, or on the cliff as it would be. We come to the time maybe when the medieval church was built on the top of Church Street. Now, we don't know, was there a monastic settlement as such there before that medieval church was built, but we do know that an ancient passageway or roadway passed very close to it. We come on to the time when the Fitzmaurices erected their castle on the bank of the river here. Now, they erected their castle on the northern bank of the river, which meant that they had to cross the river File where it was fordable there. There was a ford near where the castle is there, at where Fitzmaurice Castle is, in the square, the remnants of which are there. There was another ford below on the river, close enough to the eastern side of where the big bridge is today. So that's just a brief intro to Listowel from me, John Malachy, to you.
Right.
So well, now it's over to you.
Goramila Mahagut, Tim. Introducing Listowel. In the great vale of North Kerry, verdant with pastures and berries, shining with ribbons of running water, with the tall ramparts of the mountains beyond, where larks are tethered between earth and sky by a cord of song, lies Listowel. Home to the bards, harpers and rhymers, for whom George Fitzmaurice suggested the following epitaph. Ah, what signifies it now, what anyone did or didn't, since he is dead? But it is for him, and the likes of him, that the flowers smile, and always smiled, in the green soil of Ireland.
Being here, I suppose, in this lovely August evening on the top of Ballygrinnan, and Listowel races only a fortnight away, One would have to admire the beauty that is the island racecourse, which is here below us. The island racecourse, I suppose, came into being because after the faction fights in the Ballyeast Strand, when the crowds couldn't be controlled, the races were held in Listowel, and they have been held in Listowel literally continuously since then. I know they have celebrated their anniversaries, but Listowel races and Listowel Harvest Festival were certainly something to be looked upon and something to take your holidays for. But the racing here is excellent. It would be counted maybe on a par next to Galway races. But it's really unique, and it is a harvest festival of racing. And fair play to the racing committee, who have done an excellent job and an excellent job of upkeep on the whole thing.
Míle buíochas Tim Mahanfar. The old road on the top of Ballygrennan Hill dates back about 500 years. But perhaps there was an older road, maybe dating back 5,000 years on this very spot. So this poem I'm about to recite deals with that older version from the perspective of somebody from that time travelling on that road. The old road, Ballygrennan. Ice has melted to marsh on flatlands below Ballygrennan. Up here we smooth a pathway to progress with burdened beasts, a day or two's distance at least, to a place we'll call Tralee. We will show those hunched below this highway on high, that we mean business, the business of beating and winning, breeding better, farther off, spinning. The kingdom is ours, the future is ours. We go forwards over stones we have laid end to end. In the valley we see plumes of smoke and sense subjugation, blood on stone axes, new blood to carry back, revival, to ensure our race survival. On this road, headed beyond the hills. Bugles in our blood. We are 3 men of the 9th, 10th and 11th climacteric. 9, 10 and 11 7-year cycles to our credit and debit. We take upon ourselves the duty to pass on the ferocities we have inherited, to pass them on according to our lights and darknesses. We remain children of the rainbow, dwelling always in the morning of the world, relaying the small beauties with which life is thronged. With springs in steps, bugles in blood, stars in eyes, we sally forth ferociously to capture this day and cut a filmic notch in time.
We are here on the top of Ballygrennan on this lovely August evening with its beautiful sunshine. We are here due to the generosity of these lovely people here in those 2 houses who have introduced us into their place. And now I will get Liam here, who is a brother of Maurice Hayes's, to introduce the other people for me.
Good. Well, on my left here is Father Roger Duggan, who is visiting us for the last 2 days. Couple of days, and we'll probably be here again for the races.
Good.
Next to that is my lovely wife, Una. Then we have our friend June Ryan, and at the end, furthest away, is Jerome Ryan.
Well, I went out to Australia when I was 19, and because I was rather sick of living in Birmingham in England, and I thought it'd be a whole new start for me in this new country, and sure enough it was. Although the work when I went out in 1961 was a bit on the scarce side, but I worked mostly around all Australia, doing labouring jobs, working in shearing sheds as rouseabout, working in pubs, but the vocation to the priesthood came to me in about the late 70s, I guess, early 80s, and so I joined the Missions of the Sacred Heart in Sydney, and since then I've been working in parishes in Sydney, in Hobart, and finally in Adelaide, and I was in Adelaide for the longest time. And I decided about 3 years ago to come back because more and more of my relations were sort of disappearing from the scene. And I thought, if I don't come home soon and see what's left of them, then I'll be a stranger, to the few that are left. So that's why I came back 3 years ago. And now I'm working in Cork with the Missions of the Sacred Heart. And I came down here just yesterday for the day, one of my days off.
Yeah.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you, Tim? Your grand this fine autumn morning.
Oh, it's a lovely morning, yeah.
Lovely morning.
14th of August, my birthday.
And you're happy birthday.
Thanks very much.
Happy 21st.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
And getting ready from the show races.
Joe's my companion for the French Army.
Oh, I see.
Something like that,
Two young fellas like you want to get the French champions.
I have to watch him getting off the bus.
Listowel, in case I follow.
he goes in, he might forget.
Well, whatever way the bus is going, he's not fussy.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
I'll go where it takes me.
First class and third class.
It wouldn't matter to him whether he was getting into the bus or going to the pictures.
Sorry,
Tell you the truth. Agus Carlos and him done Farrell's show.
Seanchai Raftery File.
Sean Will Shotland Machrachtar Sanem.
Machrachtar. Fátar ór go Listowel. Misha Raftery an File lang dóchas sa scrá, le súla gan solas, le ciúnas gan crá. Ag dul siar ar maistar, le solas mo chrí, fáin agus tirsio, go deara mar hí. Féchan isme, is mo cúla balla, ag sinim ceol, the fócaí fullav.
Oh, funky fellows.
Great!
It's nice language.
Jeez. Dramatists throughout this land, live, vibrant, were hives of activity, rehearsing Sive. John B's drive to create caused new talents to arrive on scenes in casts of thousands. Take 5. At Crossroads, a new jive. From Cork to Donegal, groups imparted and derived inspiration and contrived with the Listowel luminary to dive into a plot that thickens round love deprived.
Well done.
Some mention of
Oh, lovely.
like this. Lawer an Changa Gaelga. O Lawer an Changa Gaelga lum, a cuid macri is a store, an Changa a Lawer ma waherlum in Erin glas fado. She Changa vin nor shincheri, an conscious milche glor. O Lawer an Changa Gaelga lum is banjam cree an brown. O Lawer an Changa Gaelga lum, she Changa kjarth na Gael. An Changa vin is our sathal e fall ar fud an tail. A storm McCree is Bannockthorth, a Colleen O Gancaim, Ca Will sa Sail, in Changa Mar or Janga Fain Lefoil.
Bravo! Go home to the vocal.
Good morning, Dylan.
Morning, Tim.
How are you this morning?
Very well, thank
Meet John Malachy Raftery File from Glenamaddy in the County Galway.
Hello,
This is Dylan
there.
Boyer,
How are
the
you?
photographer.
Pleased to
Dylan Boyer, the photographer, yes.
Oh, we say much about that.
I've heard much about you since I arrived in
Of
Listowel.
course he has, and his
Yes.
lovely exhibition that he has on
That's
in
correct,
St.
yeah.
John's, which
In
is
St.
behind our
John's,
back.
yeah, looking at
We
that.
are actually here in the middle of Listowel Square, and we are here at Writer's Well. Now, the square we're in is a very historic square, and nobody knew this well was here until the square was being refurbished a number of years ago. It is known from old records that the people of Listowel Square had a right of way through Guttenard to get their spring water over at the Spa well. But perhaps this well was used as well because it is a stone-lined deep well which will be found in many of the great houses around the North Kerry area.
Writer's Week. The gurgling music of the field enlightens all the vale, while up on Ballygrennan Hill, Lark tells his own sweet tale. The woods resound with welcome from Knockmoyle to Caherdown, for there's no place else on earth just like North Kerry's Listowel town. The gurgling music of the field enlivens all the vale, while up on Ballygrennan Hill, Lark tells his own sweet tale. The woods resound with welcome from Knockmoyle to Caherdown, for there's no place else on earth just like North Kerry's Listowel town. I long to be there in Writer's Week and while away the night with songs of yore and fairy lore beside your fire so bright. Connachta, its tales galore to us were handed down. Legends live like nowhere else in North Kerry's Listowel town. I always see the happy faces smiling at the door, the kettle swinging on the crook as I walk up the floor. From Gortanord to Glaunafuka, then on to Coolagown. Your hearts are like your mountains in North Kerry's Listowel town. The time has come and I must go, I bid you all adieu. The open highway calls me forth to do the things I do. The memory glad in my mind's eye will cause no crease or frown of bards and rhymers and Writers' Week in North Kerry's Listowel town.
Very much
And
so.
greetings from the people of Glenamaddy.
Yeah.
And Dunmore.
And enjoy that trip and be safe on the road.
Thank you.
We're made a margot to me.
And Tim is our location guide, and he brings us around to the different places, and he goes around in advance and talks to the people and asks them to go into their garden and into their houses and things like that. You know?
Unfortunately, Timmy, they made a mistake.
What mistake?
You see that castle over there?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be seating there. The
Yeah.
original plans there was seating,
Yeah.
so people could sit down and enjoy the scenery of the castle.
Outside, yeah.
But the local aristocracy got big ideas and they went back to the Italian style, the mafia, and they ruined it.
Oh, the
They
amphitheatre.
ruined it. The local aristocracy. They ruined it. They ruined it. The original plan, you could sit down and the old people that are left, and there are very few of the old people left in the stone. I'm actually one of the oldest families in this town. We're a real royal Protestant descent. A descendant of the famous writer, the Pilgrim's Progress, John Bunyan, and Grace Abiding Me.
And what's your second name?
Bunyan.
Your name is Bunyan.
Yeah, and that is the old Protestant church. The last vicar of the Protestant church was Archdeacon Wallace. And I went to there and I couldn't find his grave. He was a great character. But that is the original Protestant church. And the one on the far right is the Catholic church. And you had the famous Alfred O'Reilly was born in the square. He was a professor and he later became a priest. He was born below there in the square, Alfred O'Rahilly.
And tell us where was Bishop Marshall born?
Bishop Marshall was buried born up at the top of the square. He was the Bishop of Salford.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And where
Bishop Henry Marshall.
Where was Bertie Beattie born?
Oh, I don't know about Bertie Beattie.
She was over here in Dr. O'Connor's.
Well, I don't know about Bertie Beattie, but the most honourable man that was ever in this town was Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Dr. O'Connor helped the poor and he never took a penny from them. He was the most honourable man, and regrettably there's no statue to him.
Yeah.
A good man is forgotten.
Yeah. Yeah, the film when it's made, Tim, yeah.
They'd be going to be out in the town after this. You must put a bit of crack in there.
You'll put the town on the map.
But we're
now.
telling you that. Yeah, I'll see you.
Okay, good luck. Thanks, man. Good luck. Nice to meet you.
The man with the boyish spirit who wanted to be remembered as the player who scored the winning point in the finals of the North Kerry Intermediate Football Final against Listowel in 1959 wouldn't want us to be sad today. To quote from one of his favourite poems by Christina Rossetti, "When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me." Or as he would say himself, the more you cry, the less you piss. He would want us to take this day and make the very most of it. He probably would remind us to score points so the goals would follow, to play our hearts out and to give it our all. I think it is appropriate that Shakespeare should be given the last word. So long as men can breathe, our eyes can see. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning to you, and you're very, very welcome to Listowel. We are here in the small square at the statue of John B. Cain, that famous playwright that was born up in Church Street here, and he lived for most of his life around Listowel. As I say, he would have got his education locally, plus he would have been known from Rainagown to Church Street, and as I say, he was a playwright of the people. From Listowel town to the Abbey Theatre. And now over to you, John Malachy.
Thanks very much, Tim, for that nice introduction. Well, as is readily apparent from Tim Griffin's introduction, this region of rhymers is very keen on the Keens. Not only John B. and Eamon Keane, but indeed all the Keens, most keen. I've written a few words on this theme, and it goes as follows. Dramaists throughout this land, live, vibrant, were hives of activity, rehearsing scythe. John B's drive to create caused new talents to arrive on scenes in casts of thousands. Take 5. At Crossroads, a new jive. From Cork to Donegal, groups imparted and derived inspiration and contrived with the Listowel luminary to dive into a plot that thickens round love deprived.
Good morning to you. We are here in Listowel's square with its twin spires and remnants of the ancient Fitzmaurice Castle. It's a beautiful autumn morning.
Erin Gabra, the maid of Erin. The fair maid of Erin, bare-breasted, sits squat and unmoved in her place. The Bishop of Kerry once blessed it, and John B. did too, just in case. Maison de Ville is declared and attested by her sides, while down at her base, Irish motto that's tried and well tested reads, Erin Gabra, keep up face. From plaster her form was rested, the craftsman took plenty of space. Face features forlorn and encrusted, still the work executed with grace. She looked down on felons arrested, nowadays too on many's the race. this maid will be ever interested in Listowel street life, pace by pace.
We are here in the castle yard in Listowel town, and we are at the entrance to the Seanchai Literary and Cultural Centre. On the background is the remnants of Listowel, the Fitzmaurice Castle of Listowel, and behind it is the river.
Listerius. From tree shelters by a liss to mud huts by a castle, progress was palpable. All stood amazed. From mud huts by a castle to houses with stories and stairs, liss mounds transformed to a square, progress was palpable. All stood amazed. Thence a full-fledged town, streets, shops, professions, trades, skyward soaring spires, parades, festivals, writers, and dramas staged. Progress was palpable. All stood amazed. No end ever in sight, evolve or end. Year 2525, avatars self-replicating, virtual and real, realities beyond explicating, digitally enhanced and entranced, world class. All emanated from an ancient liss, progress will be palpable. All will stand amazed, even the avatars. God help us. Thank you.
And regardless of age, the words on a page, my name will forever abhor. And the leaves that I've seen, and which once were so green, now falling in showers of gold. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and your endurance.
We are here in the castle yard of the historic Fitzmaurice Castle, which is here, the remnants of which we see here in the Listowel. We are on the grounds of the Cray household, and again it was Bertha Beattie, or Bertha Cray, who wrote her Kerry memoirs, and which has been republished, re-edited, I would say, by Dr. Padraig de Brún, and published recently by the Literary Centre here. Quite close to me is the statue of Brian McMahon, the very famous teacher who lived and worked here in Listowel. He was a famous songwriter, writer of poetry, and he wrote many plays and books. He is remembered especially by Patrick O'Connor for his lovely descriptions of the fairs in Listowel in Patrick O'Connor's book, The Fairs and Markets of Ireland. And now over to you, John Malachy.
Thanks, Tim. Gift of ink. Our all-seeing, omniscient God, in his own good time, saw fit to send us people with the ink gift, who recounted animated stories of our small wonders, stories that go shouting through nations' borders. And unassuming, extraordinarily ordinary they were. 201 Men and Women of the People. Their insights on the human condition precluded airs and graces. Like the quips or witty comments of John B., taking in what you'd say to him with easy focus. Fodder perhaps for playwriting, work in progress, composed in the small hours in the garret above his most public of public houses of Listowel. Listowel Square. The square had to be the hub, the nub of Listowel matters, where hubbub was intensified. Fair day donkeys thirst slaking at the tub, tethered to the Protestant church railings. Farmers lean and wiry from sparse grub pass by with a look in at the pub, having paid their sub to the Lord's collectors. Aye, there's the rub. Connachta men drubbed by tolls when they came to this square, through which everything and everybody passed, the living on their devout way to church, the dead on their undeviated way to rest in the universe's holy hub. Or the parish clerk, Tim Lawler, who said, he tolled the bell and the bell told the people.
Hello, and it's lovely to be here at the eastern end of Listowel Square, close to the custom gap. It was here at this custom gap where people were bringing their cattle in that they paid the tolls which were paid to Lord Listowel. Lord Listowel is also the individual who donated the site of St. John's and St. Mary's Catholic Church. St. John's, which is in the middle of the square, was built in 1819 and it was a Protestant church. St. Mary's was built about 10 years later. All in all, it is a beautiful square, and I hand you over now to John Malachy.
Thanks, Tim. Yes, it's a beautiful day in Listowel today, but in bygone days, when communications were quite otherwise from what they are today, there was a local saying here in Listowel concerning the parish clerk, Tim Lawler. People said, Tim told the bell and the bell told the people.
Here behind us is the beautiful St. Mary's Catholic Church. On the right hand side of the Catholic Church is Sheehan's house, where the Protestant school, which was one of the two schools that were in Listowel Square, was. On the house next to it, that's the middle house here, was where the Lawler family lived. Originally the Lawlers were living in Market Street because during the troubled times one of those Lawlers who was going for the church was actually beaten to death by the Tans. But it's here where the Lawlers, who were sacristans, father and son sacristan, up to I would say the 1980s, lived here in the house which is just behind my back in the square. Hi Tony, how are you?
Tim?
Good to meet you here in the stall. This is John Malachy Raftery
Hello, Tony.
File.
How are you?
How are you?
Not too bad now at all.
Yeah.
And Tony, do you like living here in the stall? You do?
Well, it has its headaches, but generally it's very, very good.
It does, yeah. Tell us, you had a very nice little story there about somebody you used to visit. He was an old retired priest, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, his name was Father Oakey, and he was a Vincentian priest, and he actually was a chaplain in the First World War, and he came to retire in the establishment that I was involved in as an educator back a number of years ago. He was a chaplain actually in the First World War, and then he came to work in an establishment that I was working in, and he was there as a retired priest, and he had a great way with young people, and at the end of the work day you'd see him coming from the community house down to the school. And when Father Oakey got sick and got Alzheimer's, I used to visit him in a local hospital, and he used to sing an absolutely beautiful song, and You know, I'm just remembering it now.
And can you give us a few bars?
It's a very simple thing, but he was a man of fantastic faith, you know that. He had lived a wonderful life, a breadth of experience that was just lovely to know he had. But this was his song. Oh, I wonder, yes, I wonder, will the angels way up yonder, will the angels play their harps for me? Oh, 1,000,000 miles I've travelled and 1,000,000 sights I've seen, and I'm ready for the glory soon to be. Oh, I wonder, yes, I wonder, will the angels way up yonder, will the angels play their harps for me?
That's lovely, very good, Tori. That's I suppose reminding me of the dictum of somebody that it's a region for rhymers, harpers and bards. Bards, rhymers and harpers here in Listowel. We stop at the top, yeah. So now
we are here at the southeastern corner of Listowel Square. Right behind me is the Listowel Arms Hotel, and it was from this hotel room here that Charles Stewart Parnell addressed the crowd at the gathering when he came to Listowel. The square has also witnessed many other parades and many other scenes. It hosted the many flagpoles that would have been in Listowel, and it is host to the run-by competitions for very, very many years. It would have seen all the other parades and processions that would have taken place. Now, John Malachy, I believe that you have some poetry on twin spires, which you will recite.
A tale of two spires. Behind my left shoulder, Catholic spire, all embracing, we perspire and perspire to erect a mighty spire. Over my right shoulder, a Protestant spire. Protestant and dissenting, we aspire and aspire to have just as great a spire. Through our perspirations and aspirations, together, Catholic and Protestant, if not ecumenically, we conspire and conspire to inspire and inspire each other, even if competitively, to put up great spires, spiraling out of control, respiration upon respiration, till they come to a point, as all spires must, just as all creeds, all faiths come to the same point and finally expire, their proselytizing labours done. Until then, spire on into the blue, spiral spirits. I presume.
Certainly. Welcome,
How
John
do you do?
Malachy. How are you? Welcome to Listowel, all the way from Galway.
All the way from Glenamaddy, and thank you for inviting me here. And I'd be delighted to see some of your rooms featuring your esteemed local Kerry region and Listowel region authors, and maybe get some information from you about each of those writers. Will that be in order?
I would be absolutely delighted, John Malachy, to
Great.
do so. Would you like to come in?
Right, thanks very much.
Cara, you can maybe tell us a little bit about the Seanchai Centre here. Is that possible?
Certainly, yes. Well, the centre itself, it's located in the square in the heritage town of Listowel in this beautiful 19th century Georgian residence. And the centre is dedicated to the great writers of both Listowel and North Kerry in general. And in particular, we focus on 5
writers from North Kerry, they being John B. Keane, Brian McMahon, Brendan Kennelly, Maurice Walsh and George Fitzmaurice. And we have a room dedicated to each of those writers, and we're here at the moment in the John B. Keane room. And each room has a little set depicting one aspect of the writer's life. For example, here we're in a recreation of the pub that John B. Keane lived most of his life in and wrote a lot of his work at the top floor of the pub. And the rooms then, as well as the actual physical aspect, we also have audio presentations where you can hear the writers talk about their own personal lives, and you can also hear parts of their works performed by local actors from the many drama groups around North Kerry. So that's sort of a very quick synopsis, but why we call the centre the Seanchai, being the short word name for it, is that we have a room dedicated to, I suppose, Ireland's greatest Seanchai, Eamon Kelly. And the reason we did that was, I suppose, we determined that a lot of the works of the great writers were influenced by the oral tradition and the tradition of storytelling down through the years. And of course there is a link with Eamon Kelly and Listowel, in that he started...
He was from Listowel, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't actually. He was actually from Glenflesk.
In Kerry.
He's a Kerry man anyway.
That's the name.
It's all Kerry. But actually he trained as a woodwork teacher, and his first teaching post was here in Listowel. And he got involved with Brian McMahon in the Listowel drama group. And that's where, I suppose, the acting bug, he got the acting bug. And he also met his wife, Maura O'Sullivan, in Listowel. She's a Listowel woman, so there's a very strong connection with him. So we claim him as one of our own, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, no, that was very comprehensive and interesting.
No, we're here in the room of the master himself, Brian McMahon. And the room, it's depicted as a classroom because, of course, Brian was a school teacher by profession and the principal of the Boys National School in Listowel. And on the blackboard here we can read one of his many sayings. It says, Mulanoga agus chukigshi, Connachta agus crinigshi, meaning praise youth and it will come, disparage youth and it will wither. And that was a great phrase of Brian's and the policy of his.
Yeah.
In the bedroom of author George Fitzmaurice, perhaps you could give us some information on this author, Cara.
Certainly, as you say, this is the actual depicting the bedsit where in number 3 Harcourt Street in Dublin, where George Fitzmaurice spent the last few years of his life. But as a writer, he was primarily a playwright. He wrote 14 plays during his career. And his first play, The Country Dressmaker, was staged by the Abbey Theatre in 1907. So he was really involved at the time, that early time of the whole literary revival in Ireland. Unfortunately, his work isn't as well known nowadays, but it is very much critically acclaimed. Other plays include The Magic Glasses and The Dandy Dolls, just to mention a few of the plays.
Thanks. When I entered Trinity College Dublin in 1967, I played Gaelic football with Kevin Kennelly, brother of Brendan Kennelly, who was at that time already teaching English in that university. Can you tell us something about this author, Cara, please?
Certainly. Well, we're here in the Brendan Kennelly room in the centre, and we see the statue of Brendan here on the bridge, and that is depicting, I suppose, the metaphor for the physical life of the writer and how that is intertwined with the imaginative life of the writer and the poet. And Brendan is, I suppose, as a literary figure, primarily a poet, although he has written some prose as well. And he's still writing prolifically. Some of his works we can see on the walls here, like I See You Dancing Father, one of his poems, and Begin is another of his poems. And his recent collection called Reservoir Voices was published in 2009. So that's
good. Maurice Walsh is here at his desk, busily involved with the crossword, surrounded by his bits and pieces. He was responsible for writing the short story The Quiet Man, which was later made into a film starring John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, and The Quiet Man Cottage is a famous tourist destination near Con in County Galway. And I would ask Cara to say a few words on this esteemed Listowel area author, Maurice Welsh.
Yes, certainly. As you say, we're here in actually depicting his summer house, where in the Scottish Highlands of all places, because from a professional point of view, he worked with the Customs and Excise, and he was stationed in the Highlands of Scotland for quite a number of years. And a lot of his works are based in Scotland as well. He actually was primarily a novelist. He wrote over 20 novels during his career and was extremely popular worldwide. Unfortunately, all of them are out of print now, and the only work that you can actually purchase of Maurice Welsh is the collection of short stories featuring The Quiet Man. The original title was Green Rushes, but from a marketing point of view, it's been repackaged as The Quiet Man and Other Stories because of the success of the film. But he's he's a lot of hobbies and interests, and we see some of them around us here today.
You can just point some of these out.
Yes,
pipes here.
Yes, he was an avid pipe smoker. His favourite whiskey was Redbreast whiskey. He was a fisherman. We see the flies, the fishing flies here in front of us. And just behind me you see the golf clubs and the fishing rods. So he loved outdoor pursuits. And what I think is very appropriate in terms of the location of this room is that you won't see it here, but if you look out the window, you can see Listowel Racecourse, and he loved horse racing. So I think it's appropriate that he's located here overlooking the Island Racecourse in Listowel.
Indeed. Very good. Thank you.
Hello there, how are you?
Oh, hello, how are you doing?
I saw you talking to Cara Trent.
Oh, Cara Trent, yeah, I was just talking to her there a moment ago.
You don't have the rascally look of a Listowel man. Where are you from?
Oh no, I'm not from Kerry, I'm not even from County Kerry at all. Or not even from Munster.
We'll forgive you that.
From Connacht.
Oh.
County Galway.
Oh, lovely.
And a small village called Glenamaddy, County Galway.
I married a poor girl from Galway.
Did you?
I did.
Which part of Galway was that?
Aircourt.
Aircourt.
Dúlanúchta.
Were you courting in Aircourt?
I was courting in Aircourt.
She's a mighty court.
And I brought her down in the end. Made a Kerry woman out of her.
Oh, I see.
What brings her to these parts?
Well, I came down, there was a few old fellas down here that had a lot of cultural pretensions, you know.
Keep away from it, would be my advice. There's nothing but low types around to it.
I know, I came down now, we're doing a little documentary on Listowel.
Oh, lovely.
And I think Listowel has not been properly documented in terms of its very rich cultural, artistic heritage.
Oh my God.
So I thought I'd take not only a sideways glimpse, but a sideways slant on Listowel. And it's getting very slanted at this time of the day.
We'll lose the run of ourselves entirely.
Oh, well, we've lost it, yeah. We've lost the walk of ourselves as well as the run.
Well, that's right. I hope we should very well.
But what's your full name, Paddy?
Paddy Fitzgibbon.
Paddy Fitzgibbon. I'm sure I've heard a lot about you, Paddy. Were you a poet as well?
Don't repeat any of it.
Can you give us a few lines from something you've written or that, Paddy?
I'll give you 4 very short lines on the subject of discipline.
Discipline, yeah.
Every generation has to decide how they discipline their children. My little poem is a horrific account of how these things were handled in my father's time.
Oh, just give us a few.
It's called Discipline.
Discipline?
Yeah.
Very good.
When I was small, I never cursed or pulled my daddy's leg, because I knew that if I did, he'd read to me from Peg.
Oh, Peggy says, yeah.
Okay.
I know. That's fine. So now, Paddy, it was nice to meet you, and on behalf of the people of Glenamaddy, County Galway, Connacht, and the whole of Ireland indeed, I'd like to say thanks for your great rendition, and that I hope I'll be soon leaving this stall because I'm getting awful tired.
You're a important gentleman.
Thanks very much,
Take
Paddy.
care.
Goodbye. Yeah.
John Malachy Raftery, welcome to Listowel.
Well, thanks very much. How are you?
Welcome to the square, Listowel, to be more specific. And what brings the man from Glenamaddy all the way down here to lovely
Well, I have a
Listowel?
special connection with Listowel because of John Lynch's Gone On Lucas. We've collaborated on a couple of films.
Yes.
And of course he sent me, apropos this particular film, he sent me some discs, little films.
Right,
One was Blian Dorsale from 1972. and another was a tour of Listowel. What's his name, Jack?
Jack McKenna, yeah.
Jack McKenna, yeah.
Fantastic knowledge.
Very good knowledge. And another was a gift of ink. This was a CD from Tim Danaher. And he had a lot of little insights about Listowel.
He lived in Listowel, actually.
Oh, did he? Yeah. He spent a lot of his life in Dublin.
He lived just across the road there, and he worked with RTE as a producer.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So then John sent all those, and I wrote some script then for this particular film, inspired and prompted by those particular discs, and that is what specifically brings me to Listowel, as well as a Ford Focus 2002. It brought me here through a tunnel under the Shannon to Listowel as well. And can I ask you then, Denny, in terms of this square, have you seen a lot of changes in this square over the years? What has it been like to live in this square? What's the feeling that you have living in this environment?
Well, it's a very homely place to live, I suppose. We're closed in on four sides. We used to have two churches, now we've got one church.
And when did this one close?
This one closed, I'd say, I was involved. It was right as we started about 1971. And St. John's came, I'd say about 81 or 82. And the whole building was converted to a very intimate theatre and art centre. Absolutely. And it's been
30 years ago.
And it's been very successful. The buildings in the square are still pretty much the same. Architecturally, the exteriors are the same. Although the businesses may have changed hands. And the personnel may have changed hands. Some of the ownerships, there aren't many people. Billy said we're here since God knows when, and our children were all born here, and there are only maybe about 5 families left in the square of that age.
Of that generation.
Jack McKenna, whom you mentioned, actually lived in this house before us.
Did he really?
He did, then he moved up there. So that, but I think architecturally it's supposed to be based on Covent Garden, and is one of the most best laid out squares. It is spacious.
The Fitzmaurice man who designed it had been at school in England.
I don't know. It's more than I
used to have postcards. You remember the postcards in here?
I do.
One of the finest squares in Ireland.
One of the finest squares in Ireland.
It is pretty imposing.
Well, it's the hub of Listowel Matters, and everybody passes through here. The living on their way to church, and the dead on their way to universal rest in the holy hub of the universe. As I said in my script.
You said that very poetically.
So everyone passes through.
I'm just trying to think of the literary connections that the O'Reillys, the famous Alfred O'Reilly, you should know, the university man, president of UCC in Cork. Lived in the house where Jack McKenna lived, and there were also connections with the house up here. There's a plaque on the railing which details the connection. And of course, interesting you mentioned the two churches. George Fitzmaurice, one of the most distinguished of our playwrights, he was a vicar of St. John's, but he was married to a Catholic. So on Sunday he used to bring his wife to Catholic church here in the Mass. And then he'd go back and he'd do his service over, which was a very ecumenical thing.
Well, it was at the time. It was a forerunner of things to come.
It was.
Sorry for keeping you.
John.
You're heading off to Mass.
So Malachy, safe home, boy. Lovely seeing you.
Nice seeing you.
If you're ever up around Glenn, drop in.
Yes, thank you.
You might go to.
You delayed me.
I wait to you to retire.
Oh, don't talk about it.
Good morning to you, and you're very welcome to Listowel Town Park. Just behind me is the Dandy Lodge. This lodge was originally across the road at the other side, and it was the main lodge on the entrance to Gurtenard House. Now, over about 10 years ago, the lodge was moved in here and preserved so that it will be there for people to see. Over to you now, John Malachy.
The Valley of the Fale. You may sing and speak about Hollywood and the heroes of screen and stage, of shooting stars who roamed Wild West in the pioneering age. Their names on history's pages told, their memories will never derail. Not a song was sung of our own filming sons in the Valley of the Fale. There was Nolan and Lynch and the Raftery lad, mature men in their primes. They rambled to some lonely spots where skylarks and linnets hide. Pictures worth 1,000 words they captured through the gale, side by side, ranging far and wide by the Valley of the Fale. The summer sun is sinking low behind the fields and lea. The pale moonlight is shining bright far off beyond Tralee. The wondrous stars and clouds afar are darkening o'er the dale. Tim Griffin's pride as location guide to the Valley of the Fale.
We are here on the banks of the River Feel. In the background is the Richard Griffith designed Big Bridge. It is known affectionately as the Big Bridge, and it replaced many other bridges which were built here in former years and washed away by big floods. It is quite close to the very many passageways and roadways that were part of the old parish of Listowel.
The Big Bridge. Whenever I do cross this river, on its bridge with stonework pier, like the odour of brine from the ocean, comes the thought of other years. And I think how many thousands of care-encumbered men, each bearing his burden of sorrow, have crossed the bridge since then. I see the long procession still passing to and fro, the young heart hot and restless, the old subdued and slow. And forever, as long as the river flows, as long as the heart has passions, as long as life has woes, the moon and its broken reflection and its shadows shall appear as the symbol of love in heaven and its wavering image here. A living river in all its gushy eminence, intermixing shades of blue and green and brown, tells the wayfarer that nothing stills, that all is go, all is get up and go. For the good time being, strife and shivers are over, and the autumn greening advances still, while ripples as a unit shimmy over the water. A gentle breeze recapitalizes the banks of sedge, bails out the dying grass, entwining rustling leaves. We're contemplating and meditating here on the smallness of things. Of course, the vastness of the universe as well, but the smallness of the earth and the smallness of our species, mankind, and also the smallness of the region where we live, the ether that we breathe. Man's place is a narrow midway line between blues of the sea and the hills and the rivers. It is there that we demarcate what's yours, what's his, and what's mine. Where man toils, has his trouble, and tills. Man's place is a narrow midway line between blues of the seas and the hills and the rivers. A small place which we maybe bless with the sign of the cross and flowers on windowsills. So I think here by Listowel in North Kerry, we're content with the nature of our small place, our small river, our small hills, our small horizons, and then maybe our not so small mentality and our not so small intellectual horizons.
Tim Griffin here on this lovely day in the Garden Europe here in Listowel. With me is Annette, the caretaker of the Garden Europe now, and John Malachy Raftery File from Glenabaddy in County Galway. The Garden Europe as such, people might want to know what it became of. Once this was a quarry which had limestone gouged out up to 30 feet deep above here. Then for many years it was used as a town dump. And in the late 1980s, 1990s, the town dump has been moved. So it was covered over with soil, and the local Rotary Club decided that they would help out with making it a Garden of Europe, because we were after joining the Garden of Europe then and seeing that the European community was supposed to be the angle that would keep us out of all trouble, because commemorated here in this garden is this monument to the Holocaust victims and the other monument to Schiller, who is the poet of Europe. And I worked here in this garden for quite a few years, and again it was a lovely place to work. Have you, what are your views on working here? Do you like working here?
I love working here.
Do you?
It's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
I'm the one that do the maintenance here. I do a lot of pruning, cutting back, planting of flowers as well. I've planted it just in the spring. It was like, or last September I should say. There's over 200 daffodils down here, which I'll be doing probably another 200 next month. Keeps me busy, always something new here. The animals, I've seen foxes around here. It's just a fantastic place to work.
Garden of Europe. A scrubby stretch of ground became a limestone quarry, stone for houses all around, carried by horse and later lorry, serving the needs of the time. Then mined and pockmarked wasteland became the Listowel dump. Detritus smells all around, to town noses a class of a thump, but serving the needs of the time. Then Garden of Europe, like Phoenix, rose from the dust and the ash. Footage from here now all scenics, no longer landscape blot or gash. Bust of Schiller and Holocaust monument, serving the needs of this time.
We are sitting here in this sunny south side of the Garden of Europe. John Malachy Raftery File is with me, and again on our right hand side is that fossilized plant from 400 million years ago, and again when everything else is living thing that's around us is gone, that will probably still here. I'm sure in time to come some of today's vegetation will be fossilized as well.
As well as ourselves.
We are here at the Schiller Monument, which is one of the two monuments erected by Listowel Rotary Club in the Garden of Europe to victims of the Holocaust of both World War I and World War II. In the foreground here of the monument are peace roses. Those peace roses were developed by somebody during World War II, and when the members were going into the first League of Nations meeting, there was one of those peace roses handed to each one of them in the hope that maybe would the world learn some lesson from the Holocaust and all the tragedy and trauma and death that it caused, and would there be peace in the world.
Seid umschlungen Millionen, diesen Kuss der ganzen Welt, Bruder, Oberm, Sternenzelt, muss ein lieber Vater wohnen. I embrace my million brothers and greet the world with a kiss, knowing that our loving Father dwells above the stars.
You know how to drive the train.
Get the coaches,
Well, this is John McAuliffe, isn't it?
It is.
How do you do? John Malachy Raftery from County Galway. And you're John of the Lartigue Railway, isn't that right?
I am, the Lartigue Monorail Restoration Project.
Lartigue Monorail,
Yes.
I see. And
I'm with John also, but all they call me is Juno. Juno. At this time I
John
like
and Juno, very
to be
good.
called Juno. And this is Toddy.
Hello, Toddy.
This is your crew for today.
On a hot engine, yeah.
Hot engine.
And
This is the Tuesday. This is the Tuesday crew.
The Tuesday crew. So you'll tell them a little bit about what the engine does and what the background of it is and the kind of crucial keynote aspect of it that you'd like to share with other people.
Good.
What more can I say?
Tony is the expert on the engine.
Well, the railway ran from, it started in
1888
and ran to 1924.
Yes,
and
between-
it was between Ballybun and Listowel, 10 miles. It was damaged during the Irish Civil War, and there was no pass for it. And there was pass for the other railways, but there was no pass for this. So unfortunately, it was all sold off.
That was the end of it then, yeah.
But it ran from Ballybun to Listowel for 36 years. And there's lovely stories told that if a farmer in Ballybun wanted to sell a cow in the fair in the store, he'd load his cow at one side and 2 calves at the other side just to balance.
Oh, to balance it
And
out,
if he sold the cow then in the store, going home, he had a calf on one side and a calf at the other side.
Oh, I see.
And that's the way he'd been told. So
Yeah.
like the actual mathematics were fantastic.
So it helped to keep people of the area in a great balance, really.
In a great balance in every sense of the word.
Yeah, very good, yeah. Now, Toddy, would you like to add anything to that?
No, it just converted now from steam to diesel.
Yes.
Steam and petrol, which will keep it cheaper for the winter.
Yeah, from steam to diesel.
Steam to diesel.
And then yourself, John, is there anything you'd finally like to add to about this?
No, it's just
railway?
that we're open for the season. We open on the 1st of May and we close on the 30th of September. We're open 7 days a week, each afternoon.
7 days a week, each afternoon.
Beginning in the 1st of May.
Yeah.
And we find we have a lot of visitors, particularly from Great Britain.
I see,
There are a lot of railway enthusiasts in Great Britain.
Yeah.
And they're delighted with it.
Is it the
Absolutely
only
unique. It is
monorail in the British Isles?
It's the only monorail of its type in the world.
Oh, in the world?
In the world, yes. The only monorail of its type in the world.
Oh, I see.
So it is unique. And we have 2 carriages, and it travels for about 1,000 metres in the general direction of Ballybunion.
Yeah,
You know, and it has all the features, all the turntables and all that were on the original.
And it's a beautiful looking locomotive, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Built in England.
Yeah.
And it's here now about 5 or 6 years.
It opened in July 2004.
Oh, I see.
And officially did in 2005. Mary McAleese president opened
She
it
came
officially
down to open it,
2005.
So it was a distinct addition to the Listowel tourism
It
product.
was.
And also culture in a way as well.
Yes. We're sort of twin with the
Historical,
Listowel
yeah.
Castle as well.
Oh, Listowel Castle,
as well,
yeah.
we go hand in hand with the Listowel Castle.
I see. It took a lot of organisation to get it all done.
It did. There was a lot of work done by a great committee.
A
There were a lot of
voluntary committee,
fundraising,
of course,
and
and
the
everything,
Ireland America Fund contributed as well.
Oh, I see. And it's dedicated to the memory of a songster and poet that died
He
prematurely, I noticed,
Yes,
at the age
yes.
of about, what,
Yeah.
55 or something like
He
that.
did, yeah. That's on the nameplate there. Bob McNamara.
Bob McNamara.
From San Diego, yes.
Was
a
he
great
from
friend.
San Diego? Or?
He lived in San Diego, but I think he had local connections and just through his... Yes.
Oh, I
and
see.
he was a great friend to Lartigue in the early days and raised funds in America.
He himself,
They
yeah.
He did, along with Jimmy Dean and our local TD.
and,
They raised funds in America for it.
Well, this train, the Lartigue monorail system, did not really bring immigrants from Listowel when it was active in the late 19th, early 20th centuries. It was instead simply going to Ballybunion on its monorail journey, balancing a cow on one side with 2 calves on the other. And then when the cow was sold, each calf was put on each side to balance the thing on the way back. But anyway, immigrants were sadly leaving in the other direction, going towards the Britain and other countries farther afield. So I've entitled this work now The Emigrant Train, and the emphasis here is very much on the train leaving this area, bringing all its immigrants on board. With its burden of emigrants, frowns knotted with loneliness, train passes the woods that crown Caherdown, with loved ones left behind in Listowel town. Leaving the larks on Ballygrennan and the silver ribbon of the field, Glounafuca and Gurthanard, Knockanaur, its tales surreal. An ebbing, flowing tide of tears and sadness rising to Knockmoyle, as if to supplicate the ears of he who tills the human soil.
We are conscious in this hallowed place, Temple Barn, Listowel family burial ground, of the very close to 3,000 famine victims that are buried here. Indeed, this burial ground was opened in 1849 and was probably used up to the 1930s. Do you know, the famine victims were brought from the nearby workhouse and they came over along the lane and they were buried here. Many of them 2 and 3 in graves, and the coffins used were the bottomless coffin. In other words, when the operator pulled the pin, the body remained and they brought the coffin up again. Do you know, it was a very derelict place up to the coming of Albert Kennedy, and we are indebted to Albert Kennedy and all the amount of work that he put in to improving this site, which is such a hallowed site. And again, we are conscious of the immense amount of work that's been put into it by the committee who have run it and improved it and added the stations of the cross and built this lovely oratory. And I know the man here with me will have a poem dealing with famine, so I'll hand you over to him now.
I have written a few verses in honour of this particular famine burial ground, Temple Barn, but it's also in honour of all the famine burial grounds throughout the country, many of them unmarked, unmapped, uncommemorated. The title of this is Lost and Found. Temple Barn, a rousing and evocative name for the flat field by an erstwhile workhouse. Not even a hummock in sight, no mound alone, much less any fine sarcophagus or tomb. Famine victims en masse here, crudely interred, unceremoniously, unrecorded, dim death rattle unheard. On this commoner garden, flat fertile field, underlayered with countless hastily bagged bones, once human, every single bit as much as us, we pay, from our to them inconceivable surplus, belated last respects to the past on bended knee, reminded by its restoration, by this resurrecting community. In shallow graves not worthy of the name, but still too deep to wake the pauper dead, our common forebears lie. Cheek by jowl by wart, skull by skull, released from existence short, as nasty and brutish as conditions could conspire, just with time to hasty sire a generation less dire. Nothing there now to excavate or to solemnly rebury. That would surely be to put a modern gloss, even a kind of desecration, on that past of ours. No, this sacred field of frail but hale wildflowers will be bounded by our quiet memory of famine's rack, nothing photogenic except its flowers and simple plaque. There but for the grace of God we ponder, thinking ourselves lucky to a fault, unreasonably. We who will never know the hollow feel of hunger's moan, or knife on metal grate of skin on brittle bone, or numbness of a living hell, we who have so much on our minds those wildflowers touch. Touched we walk and sit on Champel Bawn, no inscribed monuments, nothing to read or see, undistracted so, turning our thoughts inwards, down low. From its grass, its soil, its rocky base below, we sense, we receive, slow, haunting, flowing vibrations from the lost, delivering us from evil's action stations. Foundlings on Temple Bawn, we rest with them in peaceful nations.
Cadil Gasav a Hamish, Cadil Gasav. Hasfer Kalish in a Reached, Madin lay in Verhuntish, August be Connachta, again on Lawson at Uir. Slán.
Here in this hallowed spot, St. Michael's Graveyard, which is on the top of Church Street in Listowel. While we know that it was quite close to what was the first fever hospital in Listowel, we are unsure about where victims of the famine buried here. Very many of the residents of all the surrounding districts are buried here. And again, of course, we have some of the literary people that would be buried here too. We have people like Brian McMahon, John B. Cain, Sean McCarthy, and many other souls that added greatly to the life of North Kerry. They are all buried here. It was originally a very small graveyard up quite close to where the church tower is. But over the years, the demand for graves has been so much that it has extended down to the wood and over to the college boundary on the lower side.
Mementos, mementos. Reminders, reminders. Memento mori, reminders of death. Remember, man, thou must die. Of dust we art, and into dust we shall return. And surrounded by so many memento mori gives people a great hunger. Hunger for success, hunger for material goods, hunger for enjoyment of life before we actually expire. So I've written a few lines simply about such a hunger, inspired by our ultimate deaths, and that poem is called The Great Hunger. It goes as follows. Church spires reaching hungrily to heaven, Feel river reaching hungrily to the sea, writers reaching hungrily for expression, and the banshee reaching hungrily for me. Slievemish reaching hungrily for the sky, fish leaping, reaching hungrily for a fly, flowers blooming, reaching hungrily for a bee, and the banshee reaching hungrily for me.
Good evening, and you're very welcome to the townland of Ballinrother and this beautiful evening with the sun just about to go down. At our back is the remains of the Fitzgerald Castle, which was built here on the banks of the River File. Alas, no longer, no more, only the remnants of it is here today. The great house belonging to the Fitzgerald was here on the front of us. And an interesting point of note, of course, is that when the castle in Listowel was besieged by Charles Wilmot, when the child was escaping, it was out here to this castle the child of the Fitzmaurices was brought.
Kilcash was the home of one branch of the Butler family. It was one of the favourite poems of W.B. Yeats, who had himself some Butler blood. Kilcash. What shall we do for timber? The last of the woods is down. Kilcash and the house of its glory and the bell of the house are gone. The spot where that lady waited who shamed all women for grace, when earls came sailing to meet her, and mass was said in the place. My grief and my affliction, your gates are taken away, your avenue needs attention, goats in the garden stray, the courtyards filled with water, and the great earls, where are they? The earls, the lady, the people, beaten into the clay. No sound of duck or geese there, hawk's cry or eagle's call, no humming of the bees there that brought honey and wax for all. Nor even the song of the birds there, when the sun goes down in the west, no cuckoo on top of the boughs there, singing the world to rest.
Hi, John Malachy. This is Dr. Robert Cobden and his wife Ella.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Hello, doctor. How are you?
And
nice to meet you.
He has given. He's a medical doctor, and he has given great service to the people of Listowel for over half a century.
Half a century.
I would honestly think so. And he is a fabulous historian. And again, some of his stuff was recorded. He is all round a man that has lived in the square for his lifetime, if you like. Yeah. Tim Griffin here on the banks of the Pleasant River File, slightly below the footbridge, which is quite close to the ford which crossed the river in the old days. I have been around Listowel for the past few days with John Malachy Raftery, the poet from Glenamaddy, and he has written some lines on what he sees in Listowel and Listowel's future.
As Tim Griffin intimated, having spent some considerable time myself in the vicinity of Listowel and its varied and intriguing environs, I've come to certain conclusions that are highly positive for the future of this town, Listowel, and its people. And I entitled this work, Listowel's Future. A past downtrodden by landlords, a present downtrodden by banks, List by the feel will strike glum chords, if just folkloric sight for the Yanks. We'll learn the landlording lesson, that of banking derivatives as well. Materialism in its rude disguises we will consign to Hades, no bell. In liberty, equality, fraternity, close to nature, in peace will we live, inspired by our creative thinking writers, to our futures what gifts they can give. New artists will come to the fore here, new sounds will stream over the field. Be they hip-hop or rap, talents will be on tap, for whom bell celebrations will peal.